Hello, podcast listener. Are you a gold medallion member for an airline? Well, this might be the podcast for you. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this amazing whirlwind that is JJ Meets World Travel Edition. And by the way, if you'd like to help support our podcast, visit jjmeetsworld.com where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some killer swag at our merch shop, or click the link to Apple Podcast and give us a 5-star review.
1, 2, 3, 4. J.J. Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones, in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is. He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. J.J. has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled, and he's fun and then he twirls as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprain. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called JJ Meets World.
On a Friday at 3:30 in the morning, I get up and I go to the airport. My sister spent the night because my sister and I took a whirlwind trip to Los Angeles to see a movie. So let me explain how this goes. Our flight leaves Fargo at 5 a.m. We each have a backpack, but we don't have any other luggage because we're not staying the night. We're just going to Los Angeles and coming back. So we fly Fargo to Minneapolis, Minneapolis to Los Angeles. Chrissy booked all our tickets, and she put us in Delta Comfort, which is nice because you get extra legroom. And she did something smart where there's 3 seats on either side of the middle aisle, and she put us both on the aisle seat in the same row but on separate sides so that we can talk over the aisle, but not, someone doesn't have to deal with sitting in the middle seat or anything like that.
Very smart. That's really smart.
Right. You remember that statement when I get to the end of this story, too. Okay. You remember how smart that is and how courteous that is. You remember that. So we leave Fargo at 5 a.m. We get to Los Angeles, 9 o'clock L.A. West Coast time. And we didn't have any plans. We knew that the tickets to the movie we were going to were at 3 p.m. So we've got a morning to do some stuff. And I suggested, you know what I've done every time I've been in LA and I really like it? The Warner Brothers studio tour. Because they take you on an actual, it's an actual live studio that's being used. It's got all the sound stages. It's got the New York street. It's got, where Spider-Man lowers himself and does the upside down kiss. You see that alleyway when you're going through it. For a guy like me, you see Mrs. Deagle's house from the Gremlins. You see where Hoyt Axton goes down to get the Mogwai. So we do the studio tour, and this is going to be a little humble brag here, but the last couple times I've done it, I've done the VIP tour. This time, the only thing we had available in our time slot was the regular plebe tour. But it was still awesome. We had a fun group of people. I always am interested when you see the single person who's on the tour, right? So it's the person who's alone. So the extra long golf carts that they take you on this tour with are 3 people to a row. And so my sister and I are sitting there, and they put one guy on it. And this guy, every time they point out something, he goes, oh. He's just super excited. And so we start a conversation with him, and he's from Belgium. And so it's fun to go on this tour, to see the stuff from Gremlins and see where they shot the movie Annie. And, they point out all of this stuff from movie history, right, and how these things can be. And then you get to go into some of the houses that are just facades. And then you get to go into some of the houses that they use for actual filming inside that don't have any, ceilings, but there's still a roof line and everything like that. I stood where a young Michael Jordan shoots until he misses from the opening of Space Jam. I stood on that basketball court. And so we do this.
I believe I can fly.
That's what I sang when I was walking through the rest of the house. I believe I can touch the sky. Think about it every night and day. Wouldn't it be fun if we got a music complaint over me doing that impression? Because who sings that? Is that?
I forget.
Is it R. Kelly? Is it something inappropriate?
It definitely could be. Did you know that they were going to do a follow-up with Tony Hawk, and then that fell apart?
Oh, that might have been much better than Space Jam Legacy. Yeah. Did you ever watch Space Jam Legacy?
No.
With Kobe? No, with LeBron.
No.
LeBron is one of those basketball. At least I didn't say like Muggsy. Was that a person?
Probably.
Muggs. No, I don't remember.
Muggsy
I remember
Malone,
who plays basketball.
the famous basketball player from Pennsylvania.
Yeah. So we do this tour, and we have just a little bit of time. And so the movie theater we are going to, and I don't know the Los Angeles area, but the studios are in Burbank, and we took an Uber to Hollywood. So we went to the Dolby Theatre where the Academy Awards are, where the Walk of Fame is, the Chinese Theatre is there, the Roosevelt Hotel, famous old Hollywood hotel. And so we got to see some of like that fun stuff. And the El Capitan Theatre, which I think is a beautiful like old-timey movie theater, and they film a lot of stuff there. And so, I mean, it's really neat because everywhere you turn, you see stuff that you recognize, right? So then we are like, oh, we got to leave Hollywood and we've got to go to this theater I think it's called Cosm, Cosm. And it's not a chain of theaters, but I think there's 4 in the United States. And they are specialty-owned theaters in an interesting proprietary format. So, also, by the way, this town chock full of soccer people. Right?
Oh, sure.
Like it is just a madhouse. The Scots are there, people supporting Mexico. It is just a blast and a half because everyone is so excited and they're so drunk. Like an insane amount of alcohol. But we have an absolutely great time with that. So then we get into this Uber. No, specifically a Lyft. So my sister, the Uber prices were surging, and she goes, sometimes Lyft can be a little bit cheaper. So I downloaded Lyft, and so it was cheaper by almost $30.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
that's
and so
huge.
I know. So the theater itself is in a place called Inglewood, which is really close to the airport. So essentially, we went as far away as we could for our first thing at the studio tour. Came to Hollywood, and then it's another like 45-minute drive to Inglewood to get to where we need to be. And it's very possible that Cecily, my Uber driver, will be listening to this episode of JJ Meets World. We talked a lot about it. So we get to this place. So the purpose of this trip was to see Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, the very first Harry Potter movie, which is over 25 years old now. And it's done in a format that the easiest way to compare it is like what they did with the Sphere in Las Vegas. So we've been to IMAX screens, right? These huge screens, but this is a complete like circular dome that goes around you. So like there's projection that's going even like to your peripherals, but also around the side, and then completely up and over the top of your head. So it's domed, rounded, and what they do is they have an ultra large format projector for the actual movie. But then what they've done is they've gone in and they've added like extra sides and stuff like that to it. So
does that feel immersive? Like, does it feel immersive?
Yes, incredibly. Because the way that they have it laid out is take a scene like when the envelopes are coming out of the fireplace, right? It's not a static isn't the right way of saying it, but like it's just like the Dursley's house is built around you, so you can see a chair and a carpet. But the thing that's interesting is they use forced perspective to make it feel like there's like a depth between where you're sitting and where the like projection of the movie is, so that when these envelopes fly out and they fill the screen and the air above you, and like so you're seeing them on the actual movie, but then they're flying all over the place. It feels like they are flying directly at you, and you're not wearing 3D glasses.
Cool.
They have a really neat way of explaining this, and they call it shared reality instead of virtual reality. Because you are there with a huge group of people, and it's set up tiered like a stadium, and they have a full restaurant and a full bar. So
and you don't have to wear a headset, which is nice.
No headset. And they also... It's interesting, too, because like when they do a scene that's set in the daylight and they expand it so that there's a blue sky above you, it is as light as it is during the day.
Wow.
When that happens. So like it's not a dark experience, right? It brightens up everything. You can see all around you. They also encourage people to like tape part of this, like take out your phones. And I like the fact that it's not a new movie. Like if I was seeing a new movie, it might frustrate me a little bit. And this is my ultimate walk away from it. I got to see a movie in a new format that I've never seen before, which is awesome. And so I got to see it with new eyes. And it was never distracting. It never took away from like what I was watching on screen. Like at no point did they ever do something like, hey, look over here, look over here, look over here, look over here, so that you're totally distracted. But there's enough stuff to enjoy it. An example, during the Quidditch game, they're showing the Quidditch game on the regular screen, and on the expanded part of it, you see more of the Quidditch pitch, and people are flying, so they fly over the, where the screen is and past it. And then when a character gets knocked off their broom, you can watch them in the distance, like fall to the ground. It was just wild and unique. Scenes where the candles are floating overhead in the Great Hall was cool. And then one thing that he did that I didn't even realize they were doing until later on was a couple of these were not static shots. They were like slow pushes, but the image on the screen stays the same, but the background is moving like forward as they are like progressing, as they're progressing and like walking down the street, right? So you're seeing
like
more
a parallax effect.
Yes, exactly. And it was wild. And then the actual screen that they were projecting, they move up and down depending on what the action is to give you more headspace up here or, more ground space. And then they'll do something like there's a 3-headed dog that's sleeping at one point in the movie. And when they're breathing out on the screen, you see this slight thing of like dust being kicked up. But like on the ground level, now that they have all this extra space to work with, you're seeing more of like the dust being kicked up. It was pretty amazing. And then they do the credits for the movie, and those, of course, stay the same, right? But then they use the sides to show the credits for the people who worked on all the imagery that you see on the side. So you're seeing double credits.
Nice.
It was an experience. And you've seen some of the images from Wizard of Oz at the Sphere, right? Where they expand above the Scarecrow's head and make it really big. And when I first saw that, I'm like, this really doesn't look like it's my thing so much. But this was really good. And my sister and I are huge Harry Potter fans. And Chrissy found out about this like in mid-July or June, and it was going to end at the end of June. And so she had called me and said, hey, what are you doing on June 26th? And I said, nothing, no big deal. What's up? And Chrissy said, oh, okay. And I'm thinking, I need help moving a piece of furniture, or I need someone to pick me up while my car's getting an oil change. Well, she sneakily went and goes, okay, well, I booked us tickets to go to Los Angeles. Now, here's the thing. So I tell you why I'm going there. Because the second that the movie ends, I need to get my rear end to the airport because my flight to home leaves at 8 p.m.
Wow.
So I flew in, got there at 9 a.m., and I'm flying back home by 8 p.m. So, and it's a red-eye flight home. So this is where the story gets interesting. And honestly, by the time I got home, I felt like I was there for 4 days. We put a lot of stuff into a very short amount of time. I understand now when people talk about, oh, I have a layover in this town, and so I made my layover 8 hours long so I could leave the airport and do some stuff. I get it now, man. I get it. And LAX, for being the town where, movie magic happens, I'm really surprised that Los Angeles doesn't incorporate that creativity into their airport space. Like, I'm surprised you don't have a thing where it's Steven Spielberg saying, like, don't forget to grab your bags, at the carousel down here and then make your way to this. I'm surprised they don't have it chock full of people doing that, because you've flown in and out of Las Vegas a lot. Do you remember the videos that they used to show for, like, Las Vegas? They're fantastic with the Blue Man Group and Cirque du Soleil and Carrot Top. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it was very, very clever. Very, very
clever.
Which is not normal for an airline to have a good sense of humor.
Right.
Or an airport, I should say.
I also think it's interesting, too, that, like, there are not a lot of photo ops in the airport itself.
Right.
You know, there's not a facade of the Hollywood sign.
Right.
The biggest display that we saw while we were kind of cruising through the airport was they had an LA 2028 Olympics standee that they wanted people to take pictures with, but most of the people were going like, I can't afford tickets to that.
How compatible of travelers are you and Chrissy?
Very compatible. Very compatible. And like, we are to the point in our sibling relationship where we can tell it like it is. So we don't have to be polite and say, so what kind of lunch should we have? What do you want? And don't get me wrong, we have had epic fights while traveling. Like, epic fights. But we also are to the point of where we love each other so much that, you get past it and you can just say what you need. So there's no time when it's like you hold it because you need to get somewhere. It's like, I need to go to the bathroom. I'm going to go right now. Like, okay, cool. I'll hold your backpack.
I want to comment that it was adorable watching your stories of you guys on this trip. But the best part was that you both looked so happy. And it was heartwarming to see the two of you like being really happy and just enjoying this crazy adventure that you haven't been able to take for a long time. What were you thinking when she said, "Hey, guess what we're about to do?"
I mean, in all honesty, I thought, this is crazy. I don't know if I can do this, because part of me says, well, if I'm going to fly all the way to California, I might as well stay for a couple days.
Right.
Right?
Right.
But this was maybe the perfect amount of time away. It kills a whole Friday, but I was doing something ultra fun. I don't know if you could do this. I mean, you lose an hour getting from Hollywood to the airport. And so you think about that, you're losing 2 hours while you're doing that. You're losing other time when you're in an Uber. So I don't know if there's a better way to do that. Even if we had left at 10 o'clock at night and bought ourselves a couple more hours, maybe we could do that. Also, it kind of hurts that Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone is like 2 hours and 40 minutes long. So that you're spending that time in a movie theater. But that's one of my favorite things to do when I travel. I love to go to movie theaters. Hell, I've dragged you to movie theaters when we've been in other places together.
Yeah. Oh, it's awesome. It's definitely fun. I'm trying to think, the movie, if they gave it that treatment that would get me to go, would be the first Ninja Turtles movie.
Oh, that's a great idea.
That would be the one that would get me 100% to go.
And by the way,
it sounds awesome.
This Harry Potter run for them sold out almost the entire run. And we're talking, this thing shows 4 times a day, 7 days a week.
For a 25-year-old movie, that's wild.
Exactly. And by the way, the tickets, I believe, were like $55 a pop.
Wow.
And then, of course, they've got specialty-themed food that you can have, 5 different versions of popcorn. Everything is ultra elevated and like specialty cocktails. So this place is making money.
Yeah. Is Warner Brothers doing that with any of their other properties?
So here's what's interesting. So they had a big thank you to Warner Brothers for your participation in this Cosm exclusive screening. So they had a thank you for it. And they must, because The Matrix, they also did The Matrix there.
Oh.
Yeah, and I was told that The Matrix was awesome.
That would be sweet. I would go see that one too.
Because when you think about it, every time you cut to a new scene group, right? So, okay, this scene takes place in the courtyard. What are you going to do for the courtyard? Are you just going to add a blue sky and castle walls to surround you? Are you going to do something else with that? And so there's a lot of creative choices, and I hear a lot of people say like, oh, the one for The Wizard of Oz, they just used AI to do it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure AI was a part of that, but there are creative choices that are going into this. So, for example, one of the things with Harry Potter is when they expand and, now there's big torches burning all around you. Those torches match the same ones you're seeing on screen. There are creative, interesting choices. Even like as the background spins to match a camera spin, there are choices that are being made.
Imagine a Jurassic Park one.
Oh, dude, it would be amazing. In fact, here, Tucker and I are not in the same physical space right now, but I'm going to send you real quick a clip of one of. Did you watch the clips I posted from Inside Cosm by any chance on my thing?
Yeah.
Okay, so you saw like me taping what it looked like when the letters were coming in and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So you got kind of that little feel for it. I would gladly go see other stuff like that, and I think it only works for movies that you've seen time and time again.
Sure, because you want to be able to not have to pay attention to the screen that you've already watched a million times.
Bingo, right?
100%. Absolutely. I can think of, now that I'm going down the list, I mean, I can think of all sorts of films that I would love to have that as a new experience for it, right?
Yes.
I don't think I would want that to be my first experience of a film unless it was intentionally made like that by the filmmakers. And I'm thinking of like how Nolan's The Odyssey has been shot entirely with IMAX cameras, right? Well, I need to see that on an IMAX screen then. I'm just going to have to. I mean, that's wild. That's insane. And I do really enjoy feeling like I've been plopped down into the center of a place, for sure. I really do enjoy that a lot. So I think that's going to be fun. I'm dying to know, though, did you guys miss out on the gap between you on the ride home? Like, was there a mistake?
Okay. Yes.
This is a dangling thread.
Yep.
I'd like to tug on.
So also, we brought these backpacks, and you could bring backpacks everywhere. You could bring them on the studio tour, of course, when we were walking on Hollywood Boulevard, but you can't bring them to that Cosm Theatre, even though afterwards I saw a ton of people with it. So when we got to LA, we went to this weird strip mall that was like 3 blocks away from the airport, and we checked our bags into lockers that they had that was like 24/7. I think we're the only people who spoke English who used these lockers. And it's because obviously seasoned travelers, if you're from Europe, you're used to lockers. They're available at every train station. But in America, I don't think that we've really understood the need and purpose for lockers, and there's nothing available at the airport, which makes sense with security, right? But so this business, it's totally unmanned. It's the same technology they have at Buffalo Wild Wings for their to-go food containers, and it costs us $20 for the day for a medium-sized locker, and I was happy to pay it, to be able to drop those things off. And so on our way home, so we get done with the movie, we get our Uber, and he takes us. And I had never done Uber with multiple stops before. Have you ever done that? Like where you say like, hey, listen, it's not just my destination. There's this place first. And so when Chrissy and I get out of the Uber both times, he's like, whoa, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, we just need to go in there and get this. And the first guy, great. The guy who drove for Lyft was like, if you're more than 5 minutes, I charge an extra like $8 a minute. And so I'm starting the timer now. And I was like, oh, you just talked yourself out of a tip, buddy. And it only took, honestly, we went in there, I punched something into a computer, we were out within 90 seconds. So it's not like he's waiting that long, right? And the fare has already calculated in a stop. Now, I think most of the time when they consider a stop, it's a passenger's getting out. So we get to the airport, and everything's ready. Now we ate a little bit of stuff at the movie theater, but we haven't been eating it all during the day. And we left Fargo, like we left my house at 3:30 in the morning. So we haven't really eaten much all day long. And our flight home goes LA to Portland, Portland to Minneapolis, Minneapolis to Fargo, with a layover in Minneapolis. So we get on the plane, and I am supposed to sit in 13D. My sister's in 13C. Now, the seats from the window going left to right goes A, B, C, C on the aisle, then D, E, F, F closest to the window on the other side. So we're in boarding group 3. Boarding group 3 gets called. We get up. We start walking in. It's nice because I don't have to worry about my carry-on fitting in because it's a backpack. You can fit on the seat. And when I see my row, I can see there are 2 young teenage girls. We're talking like 13, 14-year-old girls, and one of them is sitting in my seat. So I'm getting closer and getting closer, and I go, hey, listen, you're in my seat. And this woman, who I figure is their mom, behind goes, oh, what? And I'm like, yeah, it's... if she's in F, it goes D, E, F. I think that they've just made a mistake. So then there's a middle seat open between this woman who's in the row behind and then a gentleman who's sitting there, and he goes, "Hey, could she sit up there so she can sit with her kids?" And I'm like, "Oh, this is a family traveling together. They didn't book this seat before Chrissy did." And in my mind, I'm like, "Well, why doesn't one daughter sit back here with the dad and one daughter sit up there with the mom?" But the mom is like, "Yeah, I'll just come up here and then you can have my seat here." And so I say, "Sure." Now I'm not going to, and I say, I'm supposed to be traveling with my sister and supposed to be across the row from each other. And once I say sure, this woman jumps out of her seat, goes and sits down in it, right? And she tells her kids to move over. She's going to sit in this aisle seat. So she sits down. The plane continues boarding. And then this really amazing blonde woman in her early 60s, I figure, comes up and leans down. She goes, "I'm in 14D." So the aisle seat I'm sitting in is one she's in. That mom was in the goddamn middle seat. But she had tricked me into moving. So now I'm like, "Oh, well, forget this. Lady, you're coming back here to sit in your middle seat because there's no way in hell I'm going to middle seat myself."
You did that?
In this situation, right? So this woman who's blonde, she goes like, "Listen, I'm going to sit here in 14C and we'll just gamble with it. What do you think about that, big guy?" And I'm like, "First of all, I don't know if you're flirting. I don't know what's happening. I love this energy. Let's keep going with this energy." And so she's all about it. And so Chrissy turns around and she's like, "Yeah, we were supposed to be here." And she moved up to be with her daughters. And this woman who has now tricked me into moving to her row, right, into where she was sitting on an aisle seat that she did not get a ticket for. And meanwhile, overhead, it's like, "Hey, everyone, we got a full flight today, so please, find your seats quickly and then make your way to." So I'm thinking, great. So this blonde woman's going to sit in 14C, and I'm going to get screwed because there's no way that someone's not going to be there. 5 minutes go by, sure enough, and I see this girl looking at her ticket and looking at the seat and looking at her ticket and looking at the seat, and I'm like, "That's 14C. So she's like,
see him coming.
Right. And she's like, And so my sister, who is in an aisle seat, says, "How about this? Blonde woman, you move up one aisle and sit in my seat in 13C, and then I will take the aisle seat that woman had." And so she and I would sit next to each other, but I still end up in the goddamn middle seat, no matter what.
You're still at least you're sitting next to Chrissy, though.
I'm sitting next to Chrissy, but now I'm sitting next to this dad who I'm pissed at, right? And then I find this out. It's not even his goddamn wife and kids. He was just a dude sitting there who interjected himself at the wrong time into this thing. So I end up talking to Steve this whole trip, even though I don't want to talk to Steve. He just chat.
That is the worst.
And he can tell that I'm a little, prickly at the beginning because now I'm in a flight for 3 hours and 25 minutes in a middle seat when I have been booked and seated in an aisle seat. By the way, this woman who's from Australia turns around and she goes, "Oi, looks like you got a bit of the short straw." And I was like, "What? You're rubbing it in now?" Then she and her daughters do something that I see couples do on planes all the time, and I think it's unhinged. All three of them decide to watch the Michael Jackson biopic Michael, and they try and all start it at the same time, but each of them is off just a little bit. Two of them have subtitles on, one doesn't. And I'm like, well, and so none of them are talking together during this whole thing. So what difference would it make if you sat together or not?
I don't understand so many people.
Right?
I just don't.
It's ridiculous.
I just don't.
So Steve and I talk about education. We talk about AI. We talk about how he was a reviewer for Amazon until his wife used AI to make like a generated photo of like someone using the product that they're supposed to be reviewing and left the Gemini logo on it. And then Amazon was like, "No, we are kicking you out of this program." And then we started talking about comedy, and he's like, who's that comedian who like, he kind of like, he gets up there and he does like, it's mostly like improv stuff. And I'm like, Matt Rife. And he goes, no, that's not it. And so I named 20 other comedians. He goes, no, hold on, I'll find it. So he goes on his phone, he's watching like all these TikToks. He goes, oh, it's this guy, it's Matt Rife. And I said, that's what I said, Steve. I said that so much earlier. This is ridiculous. So
don't people ever just read books? Just
right,
leave the person alone. Read a book.
Meanwhile, I am being forced to watch Michael 3 more times in various degrees of like seconds. So I'm watching Coleman Domingo, who, by the way, on this viewing of Michael, his acting in that is to squint his eyes and let his lower like part of his jaw hang open. Like that's his acting choice for it. So we finally, and my sister, by the way, throws her headphones on. She's not going to get sucked into Steve's bullshit, right? And she watches a movie.
She's the smart one, JJ. She's making calculated plays that are paying off.
I'm telling you, if I had the chance, my sister would be the COO of any like organization. She'd be fantastic. So we get to Portland, and on the way to Portland, everyone who lives there is gloating like, that's so Portland. Oh, Portland this, Portland that. It's so Portland. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And, they do have that reputation, right? Like Portland is sort of this, it's sort of like the Minneapolis of the Pacific Northwest. So we get there. Portland's got a beautiful airport. It's gorgeous. And so we walk around for a little bit, and we go to get on our red-eye flight to Minneapolis. When I get on the flight to Minneapolis, I'm lucky because there's nobody in the middle seat in my row. So there's a guy who's in the window, but there's no one in the middle seat. So I have extra room to spread out. It's a red eye. It takes off at 12:33 and lands at 5:30 in the morning.
This is Minneapolis to Fargo?
No, this is Portland to Minneapolis.
Oh, okay, got it.
Which sucks because I fly over Fargo.
Yeah.
And then have to come back. And then what really sucks is when we get to Minneapolis, we get in at 5:30 in the morning, and our flight doesn't leave until 8:30. So we have a 3-hour early morning layover in Minneapolis. Ugh. And I've already started looking to be like, maybe there's another flight. No. They're all coming from Fargo. This is the earliest flight. This 8:30 flight to Fargo is the earliest.
But after a really long journey, the Minneapolis to Fargo flight, it's nothing.
It seems it's so easy, right?
It's the best. Sometimes you even run into people you know.
I did on this flight. I also ran into this woman who leaned over, and she was... So Chrissy and I were in an interesting seat because first class has 1 seat on the left-hand side and 2 seats on the right. And then when you get back, they've got 2 seats on either side. But there's this weird, like, the aisle juts. And so I have nothing but leg room in front of me. It's glorious, right? Glorious. I will take that seat. It's number 4, row 4, seat B, 4B, anytime you want. But it's great. And this woman at one point leans over, and she's got 3 boys with her, 3 young boys, 2 of them behind her, and she's sitting with one. And she goes, "What's the river that flows north?" And I said, "The Red River?" "Right, thank you." And she goes, I used to live here." I was like, "Okay, great." She's like, "But I'm here visiting. I haven't been here since college. And what should I do with these kids? I have 4 hours. I know we'll probably go to, what was it? Is it Shields?" I'm like, "Yeah, Shields. You're going to go ride the Ferris wheel for a couple hours?" And so she starts hitting Chrissy and I for like, "Well, what should I do with these 3 kids?" And I was like, I don't know. Do you have a car? I don't know what your situation is. She goes, "Well, I graduated from NDSU in 2007, so I really haven't been here in, 19 years.
But they're like, just going to be there for 4 hours?
So it sounds like she's going to visit her cousin, who she hasn't seen in a while. In fact, she made a point of saying, "We're going to go stay at my cousin's house. I've never even seen the house before." Like, "Oh, okay, lady." So we have this conversation. We give her some suggestions of places that, she could take the kids. And it sounded like she was going to have access to a vehicle while she's waiting. So I don't know if like her cousin was coming home from something, so they just needed to kill some time until then. But anyway, so we get done, and I get home, and I haven't really eaten, but I'm like, I gotta sleep. I gotta sleep some. And so I took a glorious 3-hour nap, and I'm not fully recovered. I'm gonna use part of today yet to recover, because it's Saturday, right? It's mind-boggling for me to think that 12 hours ago, I was just getting into the Harry Potter movie. Like, that is insane to me. If, like, honestly, when I walked into the house today, I said, I feel like I've been gone for 4 days.
So you flew 6 times in less than 24 hours.
Yeah.
Woo!
I know, right? And guess what? I got those free headphones from Delta every single time, even though I didn't need them. That's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to help us continue to produce new episodes each week, visit jjmeetsworld.com, where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some swag at the merch shop, or follow our link to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all the sites the cool kids are using these days. JJ Meets World is produced every week by Tucker Lucas. You can find out more about Tucker's work by visiting moonbasemaria.com. If you want to get in touch with your host with the most, check out linebenders.com, where you can find direct contact info for JJ or booking information. When I was in one of the airports, there was an overhead call for a guy named Steve Spuds Lee. And I'm like, that guy absolutely is nicknamed Tater.